Hello, today I'm going to show you how to draw a two-point city picture, and in this we have our two vanishing points. One is on the right and one is on the left on the horizon line, and then we'll always start off with vertical lines, and it will go from this side to that side, and then you'll add in your windows and your siding. You can add some signs, you'll put in your sidewalk and vehicles driving away, and then I have a short little sample to show you here. That's what we're going to work towards later on. And then I also broke this down for you to understand it a little bit better. So when we are working on this, we always have our center axis line. And this is a vertical line that you would line your ruler up to the bottom edge of the page and make sure it's straight. Then, like I said, we have our two vanishing points that would be on the horizon line right through here. And on that, we would always connect two things on the right side, and you can see how they'll start changing their angle depending on their placement with that vanishing point. Are they above it or below it? If they're below it, it's going to be going upwards. If we're drawing a line from above, it will be going downwards. And then the same for the left side. And you can see how the siding starts changing angles as it gets placed going down lower. When we have an opposite side of a building, so this side will go to the left, this other side is now going to go to the right. So we need to draw going to the right to get the siding. And the same goes for if a part of a building would show on the right side, this part would be going to the left. And then on a sidewalk, it's different than a one point. That was normally going to be going straight across, and this time we angle those marks up with the opposite vanishing point. So you can see on the right side, this would be going this way, but we still will make a straight vertical line for the little step down. Doors, once again, are vertical lines. The tops and bottoms of doors, windows, and sidings will either go to your right or to your left side. If you were doing a sign, you'd start with this part and then work whichever way it would go. And then you could add more other sides of buildings going on this little part that goes off the edge of the page. I've seen it as a park, tree area, so up to you what you're wanting to put in your cityscape, but you at least need to have 4 buildings or more. Make sure you're always drawing your doors and windows and have your sidings and signs. For making our city that's a 2-point, I have already started parts out for you, but I will show you how to do them. And remember, you need some type of straight edge. Here I have a ruler with a flat edge on it, or I've just cut a piece of poster board to work. Make sure you have a pencil and eraser, and then I have some ink pens that I'll be showing you just different parts that way, so it's easier for you to understand with the pencil drawing. Then you'll also add in your own details and make it your own city. So let's get started. So to start with, we will draw our horizon line, and that is where the sky and our land would meet. And I've already done that and decided where the vanishing points would be, so I'm going to go the furthest out of my page almost. From that area, I need to decide where will my buildings be. So that is the center axis line, so everything will be drawn on the right side or the left side of that, and I just chose, it's about the middle, it doesn't have to be perfect with it. And then you would just draw a vertical line to make this center axis. And I've already made some little guideline points, so it's easier for you to understand where I'm going with this. So the top of a building, or the top corner of this building right here, is what this very top part is. Down here I've made 2 little marks, and that is getting me to be like the bottom of the building, and then I would understand where that sidewalk placement is going to be. So by putting those marks, it will help me know where I'm wanting the placement on my piece of paper. So the first thing, we're just going to draw some guidelines. So I'm going to line this top part of the building up to the right side vanishing point, and I'm just going to draw a line all the way, and then some of this will be getting erased later. I'm also going to do this top to the left side, and then I'm going to draw what will be the bottom edge of my buildings. So this bottom line will be for all of my buildings that will be on that city block, or you can make it a couple blocks. depending on how small you draw on your piece of paper. So I'm going to do it on the other. And then we have this shape, but what you're going to be like is, how do you get a building from that? This is where we're going to draw our vertical lines for our buildings. So remember, helpful hint is line the edge of your ruler to the edge of your paper so you know you're getting a vertical line, because a lot of us don't have T-squares to help with the straightness of our lines. So I'm just going to go, this is about 1 inch because I'm using computer paper right now. If I had big drawing paper, I would make it larger. And then maybe a little bit more, over 1 inch on this side. So now what I'm just going to do, so you guys can see this better, is go over this edge, just so you can see which buildings we're doing here. I'll just go ahead and do this little line here just so it's a little bit easier. So this would be like a tall city scraper building kind of in our block. Then what you would do is erase these lines, unless you're making all your buildings the same size, which they're usually not. So you would erase this top one, but do not erase the bottom one because that's starting your city block for you. And then the next line you would do is, I like making a guideline mark on the part that's already drawn. Actually, let's make it a little bit lower. I'll go down here. So here's my horizon line, so it's a little bit above that. And I'm going to make that guideline to the vanishing point on the right side. And then I'm not going to go to the left side. I'm going to just make another vertical line out here. So now I have building 1. I see 2 sides of it, and this is building 2. And then you would erase the top line. Then let's go over here, make a little bit taller building this time. So I'm just making a light mark for a guideline, lining that up to the top here to the left vanishing point, drawing my line. Then I need to make a vertical line to make the other side of the building. So now I have building 1, building 2, and building 3. And then what I'm also going to do is skip this, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space. So I'm not going to butt the next building right up against that. I'm going to go out, let's say I'm just going to do a finger space, and I am using computer paper, so it's going to be a little bit larger when I'm drawing on big paper. Also, what you could do is go ahead and erase this line. Okay, now draw that vertical line, and this one's going to be different, so I'm going to draw it and go up past this building's original line. So now I have just a vertical line and no other part of the building yet. So I'm going to take this top part, line it up to the left side, and draw what would be the top of the building going to the vanishing point. Then what I'm going to do is just decide how far out I want the building. So that would be a vertical line. And I'm going to erase this so you can understand where this building is. So how about I do that building in blue right here, just so it's easier to understand. And this is where it gets a little bit trickier, but once you get it, you're like, oh, I finally get where I need to draw my lines. Okay, so we need to see this part of the building still. So what we're gonna do, like we did on this one, it's now on the right side, so it needs to go to the right vanishing point. And when it starts going through one of the buildings, I'm not going to draw the line anymore. So there would be the top of it. And I need to do this corner right here also. So now you can see there's like a little alleyway, or it could even be a street intersection that you would have. And then I'm just going to draw a little vertical line right here, so you can see where the buildings are. So we had building 1, 2, 3, and now this is building 4. What I'm going to do over here is go ahead and I'll just make this one blue too. So this one's going to look different for the next building I'm going to do. I'm going to go up. I'm going to keep it on this line this time. I'm not going to leave a space. So I'm going to go upwards. So a vertical line. Oops. Now this spot is going to go here to the right side. I'm going to make another vertical line so I have the other side edge of the building. That would get erased. And now remember, like what we did here, we have an open space, so this needs to go to the opposite vanishing point. So this time it's to the left. And now you would be seeing the side part of the building right there. And this is getting smaller and smaller, but what you could do is another vertical line. And I just left a space here again, but this is going to be like really far in the distance, because if you think this is how tall the building, because I'm just going to use the same line, this is how tall the building is here, and it's really short in the back. So I used that same vertical line of the original one, just so you could get the idea of where it goes now. This part goes to the opposite, and this goes to the opposite. And you could even draw another building in here. Sometimes you could even add in another line right here. I could draw, and I'm just using that same guideline that I still have like the ghost image of it almost. And that way you can see how another building would look far, like it's setting back on the other edge of the corner of the building square. So what you're going to do next is, can you guess? There's a couple of different things. We can start adding the details of the buildings, but what I was going to do was, just so it's in place and we can understand, is the sidewalks, because we had this guideline here and we hadn't done anything with it yet. So we're going to go to the vanishing point and make a line. And now I'm going to go to the right side and do the same thing. And underneath that, just a little tiny bit, I'm going to make another line, so this will show the step down of the sidewalk. What I'm also going to do is just continue this line outwards of the edge of the buildings, just so you can kind of see where it's going. But I didn't do it in this step, so what I'm going to do is, I'll use red, I'm going to do a vertical line straight up and down. This way you can see where the street corner is right there. So what you would do is, as you go back, your marks are going to get smaller or closer together. And the same way for this one. And I'll just do a few so you guys can start understanding where they're going to go. So it's always lined up to the left if I'm marking on the right side, top of the sidewalk. Then you just keep going back, and then you would do your vertical lines again for that little step down. You'll see how it gets smaller as it goes back, and I'll just do a few back here so you can see on the right side what they look like far in the distance. So they're going to be a lot smaller. here, so I'm going to line it up to the right to vanishing point, and then make a mark on the left side of the sidewalk on the top. Line it up again, make a mark on the top left, so vanishing point on the right, mark on the left, vanishing point on the right, mark on the left. And then we would have our little step of vertical lines. So these lines here are lines that are going straight up and down. So those are the vertical lines. And these go back to the vanishing points, or actually be going to that one. So once you have your buildings going, the next part you could even go ahead and draw in another road. And then you give yourself another sidewalk, and then keep doing the same thing. You could even do it over here, and then you would use the other vanishing points for those things also. So to start the details, you need to think of how large are your buildings. So how many stories are they? And then what I like doing is, say this is halfway of it, then think of your sidewalk spaces too. So is that my door width? How tall is my door compared to, we're just going to exaggerate here a little bit. So this is how tall my door would be. Say that's how tall my door would be, right there. So I'm going to make a line all the way to the vanishing point on the right side, but notice I went out to the corner here. And what I'm doing over here is lining it up to that center axis vertical line and making a guideline there. So now I have the height of the doors for all my buildings. So the next thing you would do is make your vertical line, and ta-da, you have a door. And it would probably be, you know, a door like this, and this would go to the vanishing point. And this could be those doors that you push, the little bars. Here would be another vertical line. And then we have a door down here, and these are getting really tiny. So like down there's like really, really small. Over here would be a door. And then I'd have a much smaller one down here. You could even make these the way parking garages are. Since we have like a drive there, you could open this all up and everything and just have the pillars showing and the floor lines, and you could be drawing a garage for cars to park and stuff in the city. So once you have that, then think of, you know, what kind of building is this? So this one's probably going to have lots of and I'm going to do this. I'm just drawing some lines here so you guys can kind of see where this is going and how things change up. So I'm thinking of it as it's one of those very reflective buildings since it's so tall. And what you could even do is measure it with centimeters or something if you wanted to. So, let's see. I'm just going to make some guidelines. So my floor's not right at my door. My floor's up just a little bit higher. So only on this building. Actually, I'll use red since I was using red earlier. So when I do it on one side, I'm going to go to the other side and do the same line. And this would just be those really tall window panes that the skyscrapers have, that has a whole bunch of offices in it probably. And towards the middle, where it's lined up with the horizon line, you're going to notice it gets straight, and then it's going to change its angle. go into the vanishing points. So I'm working on this one first so it's easier for you to see how the lines keep changing directions, because we're going to start getting steeper lines now because it keeps getting moved up higher on this line. So we're going to have straighter lines towards the horizon, and then they'll start getting really steep diagonal lines, either going downwards or upwards depending on where it's located at with that horizon line. And there would be one of your really tall buildings. You could add more doors on the other side if you wanted to. Then this one, say it's just regular little lines. And if we were doing siding, it's going to be a whole bunch of lines that go straight back to the vanishing point. And add some windows in there, and this would just keep going back. I'll put some at this angle so you can see which way they would go. And I want you to add your own designs to them, so think of the different types of siding buildings can have. So you can see how it changes directions. And then if we had some like small storefront windows, I'm using that same height of the door. And then this would be going back to the vanishing point. If we had other windows, we could just line them up with the guidelines that we gave right here for our siding. Just so you can kind of see where we're going. These would almost be straight. Let's just do a couple more so I can finish it. And then you'd have, you know, your different windows. But make sure they're all vertical lines when you're doing the sides of them. If you had, and I left this one open, I'm going to make a vertical line, which we already gave ourselves guidelines. But if I did a big sign, the name of the store, it could be right here. And I would just fill this side in just a smidge, and that way it gives thickness to the sign. And then the word is just going to be tall here, and we'll just write store. And the letters would get smaller as it goes backwards. So you could give yourself, like elementary, you had the dotted line, if that would help you find the different ways your lines would go. Then here, obviously, these are all going to the vanishing point. And I'll just put a few more in so you guys can see where you're going with them. Obviously, don't make them as big. I'm just doing this. Because what I want to do here is then go to the opposite side. So I have a couple in there. I'm going to add some more now just so you can see more, because make this look more like siding. If I was making this bricks, I would be drawing the same kind of lines first, and then like when we did the 1 point, you want verticals for the sides of them. Then we have the door here. And then just add your own doors and windows. I'm just doing the siding so you can understand where it's going and how it would start changing directions. So then this building is all going to be going back to the vanishing point. Then we have really steep lines to the right side. So notice how if it's on the right side of the building, it goes to the right vanishing point. So on this side, it's going to go to the left, because those are thinking of as our center axis. These, let's just put in just going to do something here so you guys can see. So this would be your vertical. So this time you're going to fill in a little bit more here. Whereas this one you would fill in more of the right side. It's showing a little bit of that window frame going. And if we wanted one of the, say an awning, we're going to go here. I'm going to draw outwards just a little for the bottom. I'm going to connect those to get a triangle. Then I'm going to go back to the vanishing point and use this other line as my vanishing point still. And in this angle, it's parallel. And then this would get all colored in. And that's how you'd have like an awning for a store and everything. And I'll just grab this color here just so we can see some lines to understand how these have going to the right, going to the right, going to the right, going to the right, goes to the right, right. So these right here, because they're on that center axis of that building, this is going to be really steep to the left side this time. Line it up really steep to the left side. And what a lot of kids do when they're doing this is they just usually make the one side of this openness of the land a parking lot, or it could be a park. You could go ahead and make another sidewalk park though. Use the opposite vanishing point again. And then you would have done going downwards. Just our little line again for a step. And this is so small, but these would be your verticals. And a lot of people just color this in grass though. So what I'm going to do now is start a vehicle, but it's going to be a lot larger. So obviously I've sketched in the grass here and the sidewalk. So I made a vertical line, and this would be the back, if I'm driving this way, the back passenger side corner. So now I'm going to draw just some guidelines so you can see where they're going. So this will be going to the vanishing point, and this would be going to the vanishing point on the left. This is where it gets a little bit trickier because it's such a narrow area. This goes to the vanishing point on our right side. So now this is how the vehicle's going. Like there would be the front of the vehicle, here's the rear end. You need to decide how wide is that vehicle, and the same would go for here. So say we're making it this wide. So I'm doing this a vertical line. So I'll do this right here, just so you guys can see it better. So now I'm going to take this top corner, because I lined that up to the left, this goes to the right, and that is the the truck bed itself. So now I need to think of where does the cab of the truck go, because then I would need the front of the truck also. So say the bed of the truck goes up this far. I remember this is not proportionate to the buildings. So I would have, well, we'll just do it here. A vertical line. And then this goes to the vanishing point on the left. And then this would, remember, it was right there. So then you would decide how tall is it going. So I'm going to go up more for my vertical right here. Then this goes back to the vanishing, because this would be the part that you're setting in. This goes over to the left. Let's put in a vertical. I forgot to do this. We should have just made this an open cube when we did this. See how that works now? So you can see that part. And then this would go over here. So from all of that, we are going to continue with this. And sometimes you mess up, so just erase it. It is a little bit tricky when you have to start flipping back and forth to do the different parts. But then you start getting the hang of it. So then, because you already had that guideline earlier, that would be the front part. So then it's a vertical line again, and this part goes over to the vanishing point. That line was already drawn. So then you have the start of a truck, and then you would put in that curve for where the wheel wells would be for your tires. And then you'd have your tire right here. And you'd see some of it underneath the truck. You can use some black. And maybe you have a little window open here. You could even, you know, write whatever brand that you like. For a bumper, it's just a little bit more going to the vanishing point, that's sticking out. Then you'd have that little part there too. And then obviously draw your doors and stuff in. A truck's a little bit easier just to do because it's more of a box compared to a car that's curved a lot of times. And you could always add some trees far in the distance. You know, because it was a park right here that you decided since you weren't building any buildings. And these are just like little tiny lines on top of each other. And you could always have a vehicle coming towards you. If you were doing that, start with the line again. You want the side closest to the curb, opposite curb, so that would be going to the vanishing point. Across this way, then another vertical line, and that would go back so you kind of see where it's going. Vertical, right side, left, and this one's really small. Well, I guess it's an odd shaped vehicle. And that's how you would do those. If you wanted, you could always do, if I would do even a line right here, this would go to the vanishing point. You could put a sign. This would be vertical. So you can kind of see a little bit back to the right. Fill it in, and then I just give 2 vertical lines filled in a little bit more. That way you get a billboard sign that way. If you wanted one over here, do your vertical line. So everything's vertical or to either the right side or the left side. And then do your, fill it in just a little bit. That way it gives your thickness to it. And if you were doing an alleyway, this would be going that way. And then you could even do a little tiny sidewalk walking area there. Might have that one there. So you could have your crosswalk there. And then a street off that way. So there's so many options that you can do. I was just getting you started. So happy drawing!